Welcome to The Explainer. Today, with the help of these slides, we're jumping into a really fascinating prophecy that claims one of the most famous stories ever told, the Exodus from Egypt, is actually just the prequel to a much, much bigger event, the Second Exodus. So let's just dive right in with this pretty startling prophecy from Jeremiah. He's essentially saying that the story everyone points to for divine rescue, the escape from Egypt, is going to be overshadowed one day, eclipsed by something even greater. And that just raises a massive question, doesn't it? I mean, think about that for a second. What on earth could be so monumental that it makes people forget about the 10 plagues, the parting of the Red Sea, and that whole 40-year journey? What could possibly top that? To get our heads around this, we're going to follow a framework laid out by theologian Dr. John Gacheru. We'll look at the initial promise, where it comes from in ancient texts, why a regathering was even needed, a proposed two-phase return, and finally, what it all supposedly means for the future.
Okay, first things first, let's anchor this big future idea in a story that's probably very familiar to a lot of you.
Right. So we all know this story. Moses, the Pharaoh, freedom from slavery in Egypt. For thousands of years, this has been the gold standard, you know? It's the ultimate benchmark for divine rescue and keeping a promise. It's the story all other acts of deliverance are measured against. But this so-called Second Exodus, well, it's defined as something on a totally different level. It's not just a sequel, it's a future global regathering, and it's prophesied to be way bigger, way more widespread, and way more spiritually profound than the original.
Okay, so where is all this coming from? Let's dig into the ancient texts that are the foundation for this whole idea.
So the main text you'll see cited for this is from Isaiah. And the key words here, the ones that really jump out, are the second time. Now that little phrase is huge because it directly connects this future event to the first one from Egypt. It frames it as Act 2 of a divine plan, not some random new idea.
And what's wild is this isn't just some one-off verse. Other prophets add more and more layers to the picture. Jeremiah says it'll completely eclipse the first one. Ezekiel talks about reuniting all 12 tribes. Yep, even the so-called lost tribes. And others really hammer home that this thing is global, reaching the farthest corners of the earth.
But that kind of makes you wonder, right? Why would a worldwide regathering even be needed in the first place? Well, to understand the promise of a big return, you gotta understand how everyone got scattered all over the globe to begin with.
This timeline really paints the picture. It happened in these huge, destructive waves. First, way back in 722 BCE, the Assyrians scattered the northern kingdom. Those are the 10 lost tribes you hear about. A century and a half later, the Babylonians do the same to the southern kingdom. And then, the big one, 70 AD, the Romans destroy the temple, kicking off a global scattering that lasted for nearly 2 millennia. These events set the stage for a prophesied global return.
Okay, so now we get to the absolute core of this theological framework. It proposes that this return doesn't just happen all at once. Instead, it's supposed to unfold in two very, very different stages.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. Phase 1 is described as what's happening right now, a secular, political, human-led return. Think Zionism, creating a nation-state. But Phase 2, that's presented as something totally different, a future, divinely led event, where the Messiah gathers all 12 tribes back, not just to a state, but to establish a 1,000-year kingdom of peace. So according to this framework, the creation of modern Israel is seen as a huge, necessary first step, but it's still incomplete. It's compared to that famous vision from Ezekiel, the Valley of Dry Bones. You know, the bones click together, they get muscle and skin, you have a body, but it's not alive yet. It's still waiting for that spirit, that breath of life to be fully restored.
All right, last section. Let's pull all these threads together. Let's see how this framework connects the past, the present, and what it says is still on the horizon.
This table lays out some really powerful parallels. Basically, it frames the Second Exodus as an escalated, supersized version of the first. So instead of a human prophet like Moses, the leader is the Messiah. Instead of plagues on one nation, Egypt, you have judgment on a whole global system. And the deliverance isn't from physical slavery in one country, but from a worldwide spiritual system of control.
The source then lays out this very specific prophetic timeline. And the key thing to notice here is where it places our current time period, right at step 1.
This partial political regathering is seen as just the very beginning of a long road that leads through tribulation and judgment, before finally culminating in that complete regathering and the 1,000-year kingdom.
And this is the punchline. This is why it's considered such a big deal. In this framework, the second Exodus isn't just for one people, it's the trigger, the catalyst for a prophesied global transformation that ushers in an era of universal justice and peace for the whole world.
And that leaves us with a final thought. Whether you see all this as literal prophecy, a powerful metaphor, or just an ancient story, this framework offers a really unique and complex lens for trying to make sense of history, past, present, and future, as it continues to unfold right before our eyes.